Some roads do not look dangerous. They look ordinary, familiar, safe to drive. But after midnight, certain highways across the United States carry stories that refuse to stay buried. Tonight on America's Haunted Atlas, imagine starting your car, setting the GPS, and realizing your next stop is one of the most haunted stretches of road in the country. These are not movie sets or campfire stories attached to random highways. They are documented locations tied to real accidents, tragedies, and decades of eyewitness claims. Some of them proudly lean into the darkness, inviting tourists in. Others hide in plain sight, used every day by people who have no idea what is said to linger there after dark. Every road you're about to hear about is one you can still drive in 2026, if you are willing to follow the pavement into the unknown. And the first half of our journey into the unknown begins now. Number 1. Route 66, the Ghosts of the Mother Road. Route 66 was once the Great American Highway, stretching from Chicago all the way to Los Angeles. Today, much of it survives as historic segments winding through small towns, faded motels, and old service stations. It looks nostalgic in daylight, neon signs, vintage diners, and roadside attractions. But scattered along this route are places with reputations for unexplained deaths, violence, and hauntings that have built up over generations. Over the decades, Route 66 saw fatal car wrecks, armed robberies, and town collapses when mines shut down or rail lines moved. Some of the original roadside motels and boarding houses were the sites of suicides, suspicious deaths, and crimes that were never fully solved. Former hospitals and clinics along the way, later converted into hotels or apartments, bring a history of illness, overcrowding, and questionable medical care. Travelers talk about seeing hitchhikers who seem solid and real until the car passes them and they vanish in the mirror. Guests report footsteps in hallways of renovated hotels when every room is accounted for, or voices whispering just outside their door. Others describe faces in the windows of abandoned buildings with no power, or children's laughter echoing in empty courtyards in the middle of the night. What makes Route 66 especially disturbing is that it is not defined by a single haunted building. Instead, it feels like a chain of haunted nodes, ghost towns, forgotten motels, and neglected side roads that turns an iconic American road trip into a slow, rolling journey through the country's discarded past. The road itself becomes a line connecting broken dreams, sudden deaths, and entire communities that simply stopped existing. In 2026, you can still follow long stretches of historic Route 66 through Illinois, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. Many businesses openly embrace their haunted reputations, offering tours and paranormal rooms for guests. Others, especially crumbling structures and privately owned properties, are unsafe or off-limits. Anyone chasing the ghosts of Route 66 is strongly advised to obey posted signs, avoid trespassing, and remember that not every building still standing is safe to walk into. Number 2. Clinton Road, New Jersey's Midnight Corridor. Clinton Road in northern New Jersey is only about 10 miles long, but its name appears again and again in lists of haunted roads. By day, it is a heavily wooded two-lane road, quiet and mostly empty. By night, it is known among locals as a place where people go to scare themselves, and sometimes leave shaken by what they think they saw. The area around Clinton Road has a history of real-world crime and disturbing discoveries. There have been reports over the years of illegal dumping and bodies found in the surrounding woods, feeding rumors of organized crime and other criminal activity. Stories also circulate about strange gatherings deep in the forest, abandoned structures, and suspicious vehicles that appear and disappear without explanation. Drivers tell similar stories. A vehicle that suddenly appears behind them with bright headlights, riding their bumper aggressively and then vanishing as if it were never there. Many claim to encounter a boy near an old bridge. Some say if you stop or throw a coin into the water for him, something unseen will throw it back. Others talk about figures standing at the edge of the tree line who seem to dissolve when the headlights sweep over them, or glowing eyes watching from the woods with no visible animals nearby. Clinton Road is especially unsettling because the fear is not just about ghosts. The darkness is real, the isolation is real. The record of crime and strange incidents in the area is real. It is a place where the line between paranormal and dangerous in a very human way is thin, and no one can say for sure which one you will encounter if your car breaks down there at night. The road remains open and drivable like any rural route. Law enforcement and locals, however, discourage joyriding, blocking traffic, or wandering off into the woods. Much of the land along the roadside is private property, and the environment itself, poor lighting, tight curves, wildlife, can be hazardous. If you decide to include Clinton Road on a 2026 road trip, the main danger may not be a ghost, but another car, a sharp curve, or your own nerves. Number 3. The Blues Highway, Legends Along Route 61. U.S. Highway 61, often called the Blues Highway, runs through the Deep South and touches cities and towns that shaped American music. Behind the romantic image of guitars and crossroads is a long, painful history of poverty, racial violence, and sudden deaths along the route and in the communities it passes. That history has given rise to some of the most enduring ghost stories in the region. The land around Highway 61 has seen lynchings, unsolved killings, and countless accidents on older, poorly lit segments of the road. Many of the early blues musicians connected to the area lived hard lives marked by exploitation, illness, and early death. Add in the famous Crossroads legend that suggests a soul-trading bargain in exchange for musical talent, and the road begins to feel less like a highway and more like a ritual path. Drivers speak of picking up lone hitchhikers who disappear from the back seat when the driver looks away for just a moment. Others describe figures walking along the shoulder who are suddenly gone when they pass. There are stories of hearing distant guitar music late at night near places where juke joints once stood, even though the buildings are long gone. Truck drivers mention shadowy shapes darting in front of their trucks, causing them to brake hard, only to find empty pavement. What sets this road apart is the sense that the haunting is emotional as much as it is visual. The weight of the history, slavery, segregation, violence, and the sacrifices behind the music seems to cling to specific towns and crossroads. The supernatural stories feel like an echo of the real suffering that happened there, translated into apparitions, strange sounds, and the uneasy feeling that you are driving through memories that do not belong to you. Highway 61 is fully open and heavily traveled. Towns along the way promote their musical heritage with museums, festivals, and historic markers. Some embrace ghost tours and supernatural legends, while others prefer to focus on the cultural contributions and leave the darker tales to word of mouth. Anyone taking this road trip in 2026 can easily follow the route, but may find that the most haunting part of the journey is realizing how much of that history is still visible from the driver's seat. Number 4. The former Highway 666, the Devil's Route renamed. Across the Four Corners region, a highway now known as U.S. Route 491 once carried a different number, U.S. 6666. That designation, combined with a long record of accidents and remote desert scenery, earned it the nickname the Devil's Highway. The number was eventually changed, but many of the stories about what happens on this road at night have not faded. For years, this route had an unusually high number of serious crashes, especially before safety improvements were made. Long, monotonous stretches, fatigue, and high speeds all played their part. For some, the sheer coincidence of the 6666 sign and the accident statistics was too much to ignore. Petitions, superstition, and public pressure eventually helped push for a new number, but drivers still talk about the old reputation. People crossing these desert miles report seeing hitchhikers who appear suddenly in the beam of the headlights and then vanish when the driver slows down. Others speak of an aggressive truck that comes out of nowhere, roaring up behind them, forcing them to speed up, only to disappear without ever passing. There are also accounts of dark shapes pacing vehicles along the side of the road, or glowing eyes watching from the scrub, with no animals found when motorists stop to investigate. The fear here comes as much from the landscape as from the legends. The desert around Route 491 is vast and often empty. Cell service can be spotty. Towns are few and far between. The idea of breaking down on a cold desert night, under a sky full of stars and absolutely nothing else, already puts drivers on edge. Add stories of cursed numbers and phantom pursuers, and the sense of vulnerability becomes even more intense. Today, the road is a normal U.S. highway in name, used daily by locals, long-haul truckers, and travelers. There are no official haunted attractions along the route, no theme park built on its reputation. If you choose to drive it in 2026, it will look like any other long, lonely American road. Whether it feels that way at 3 in the morning, with no other headlights in sight, is another question. Number 5. Haynesville Woods, Maine's fatal stretch. In northern Maine, Route 2A cuts through a deep, heavily forested region known as the Haynesville Woods. On a map, it is just another back road. In song, in local stories, and in decades of trucking lore, it is a place where too many people have died, and where some drivers say the dead still try to flag down passing cars. This stretch has been the scene of numerous accidents, especially during harsh winters when snow, ice, and low visibility make conditions treacherous. Narrow lanes, wildlife crossings, and long distances between services have all contributed to its dangerous history. This real record of injury and death laid the groundwork for ghost stories that feel uncomfortably plausible. One of the most repeated tales is of a woman seen standing by the roadside, sometimes said to be holding a child, begging for help, and claiming there has been a crash. When sympathetic drivers stop to offer assistance or turn to call for help, she is gone. Others talk about figures walking directly into the lane and forcing them to brake hard, only for the road to be completely empty. A few describe hearing voices in the trees or feeling that someone is standing just behind them when they step out of the car. The haunting nature of Haynesville Woods comes from how closely the legends mirror real events. The image of a desperate survivor trying to get help after a wreck aligns with the very real tragedies that have occurred there. The thick tree line closing in on both sides of the road makes it feel like the forest itself is watching. At night, with snow blowing and your headlights swallowed by darkness, it is easy to imagine someone, or something, appearing at the edge of the road. Route 2A is still an active road, open to regular traffic. It does not advertise itself as a haunted attraction. There are no gift shops, no official ghost tours, just a ribbon of asphalt through the woods. Anyone planning to drive it in 2026 should treat it with respect. Follow speed limits, check the weather, and remember that the same conditions that inspired the legends can still be deadly today. Join us for part 2 as we conclude our journey through America's most haunted roads. Stay curious, stay cautious, stay haunted.